In today's episode, we talk to Ray Tran, a Brooklyn based middle school financial literacy teacher who, despite his low salary, has amassed a real estate portfolio of over 580 units across multiple states and now teaches others how to achieve financial independence through smart money habits. If you've been wondering how passive income really is, then this episode is for you.
Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets grow. Financial freedom's where we go. Smart investments, money flow.
Hey, babe, what are we talking about today?
Today, we have a special guest, and we're going to be talking about investment properties, being first gen, how passive is actually owning real estate because, the internet constantly tells us just buy real estate and you'll never have to work again. So we're definitely going to get into that. And then most importantly, this guest is also teaching financial literacy in middle school, which is really exciting. So we want to get into that. We're going to welcome Ray Tran to the Sugar Daddy podcast so that we can get into this conversation. Ray, thanks for being with us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Really excited to share and answer whatever questions you may have.
Awesome. Well, let's get into your bio, Ray, because you've got a lot going for you. We want to make sure our audience knows exactly who we're chatting with today. Ray Tran is a Brooklyn-based middle school financial literacy teacher, wealth and real estate coach, and investor. After starting his career at Ernst & Young, Ray pivoted from corporate life to education, driven by a passion to mentor others. A life-changing moment came when his father passed away, motivating Ray to build passive income and create time freedom for his family. He has since built a diverse real estate portfolio of 583 units across multiple states and now teaches others how to achieve financial independence through smart money habits and asset ownership. Ray's mission is to help people break free from the rat race and live a life of abundance by sharing both wealth and knowledge. Ray, amazing. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we got to get into your first money memory because we always feel like people's money story starts somewhere. So we'd love to hear your first money memory before we really get into it.
So, to be fully transparent, I've listened to some episodes and I knew this question was coming.
Yep.
So, I had a couple of different answers, but I'm just going to say the first one that came to my mind.
Okay.
So, I'm very big on sports. And one of the things I did when I was a kid was I bought basketball cards. And I remember one time when I bought a basketball card pack and I opened it up and it was a Michael Jordan. I think it was a refractor card, whatever it was highlighted. It was very, very pretty. So I decided to look it up and I saw it was worth, I believe it was $500.
Whoa.
So I saw a sticker that says, please do not remove. So obviously as a kid, I removed the sticker.
Oh,
I see your reaction.
I see where this is going.
I posted on eBay and I told my dad I got this card, it's worth some money. So we sold it. And because I ripped off the sticker, it sold for about half the value. And that value was about $200. And that $200 went to my account, which I obviously used very, very quickly. So I guess a couple of things from that story. If it says don't remove, do not remove.
Yep.
Right?
Love
That's
that.
a good lesson. And two, seeing that there is what you have is worth what people are willing to pay. So for me, I bought a pack of cards for $5, whatever it was back then, and just get something that would be what should have been, 100x my return. Being about 50x was something that was pretty cool to me, that I can buy something and I sell it for more. So that was really cool.
Very cool. How old
Yeah.
were you?
I would say it was definitely elementary. 8, 9 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so I felt that one because as a kid, I used to collect baseball and basketball cards too. Never fortunate enough to open up a $5 pack and find a Jordan card, but
Valuable
Yeah.
lessons there. Yeah. Wow.
Kid
Uh,
stuff.
Were there any lessons about the $200 that you did get about, maybe not spending it right away, saving it, any kind of discussion after that win? I mean, it's still a great ROI, right? A $5 pack turned into $200 for you at a young age. But what was the conversation like between your dad at the time?
I mean, my dad was I want to say use the word spoiled, but I mostly got what I wanted as long as I had good grades. So as long as my grades were good, I behaved, I was relatively good to my younger sister. I got what I wanted. So even though it was my money, like, my dad was still, if I wanted to buy something, most of the time, if I earned it, he would give it to me. So I guess there wasn't really a money lesson in that. That lesson came later on in my life when I realized what I could have done at an early age. Because they always say the best time to invest is, way back then. I
Yeah.
should have done it earlier. But now the best time to invest is just now, right? If
Now.
I can't go back in time.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great story. Thank you for sharing that with us. Would love to pivot into your teaching career. So you left Ernst and Young. Maybe walk us through, why you left, because obviously you hear that name. It's prestigious. It comes with a lot of like, ooh, that's so fancy. Why would you leave that to go teach middle school in Brooklyn? Right. Would love to hear that story to get us started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always wanted a big finance corporate job. Growing up, my dad, I'm a first generation American. My dad wasn't born here, but someone told him the stock market was a good idea. So he would tell me, hey, hey, Raymond, I bought Dell, I bought Intel, Microsoft, back in the day, these were the
Nice.
blue chip stocks. And he would say, oh, this is going up. And I was like, okay, that sounds, you could make money through the stock market. So it's natural for me to major in finance in college. And when I got my job, I thought I was set. I was working in Times Square, big four accounting firm. I got to dress up, walk around in a briefcase. This was going to be my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big office. So when I got there, it wasn't what I thought it would be. Within a year, I realized that I wanted to call in sick a lot. And they gave me unlimited sick days. So what does that mean? I get to call out unlimited times. I was working weekends. I was working past midnight. I was traveling for work, doing some consulting. And it just came down to I couldn't see myself doing this for 40 years. So I decided this was 2007 when I started. I didn't know what to do. I knew within the first year it wasn't for me, but I didn't know what to do. So I just stuck there. New Year's Eve 2010, I ran to a college friend. He was a teacher. He was happy. He made enough money to buy a place in Manhattan. And
What?
most importantly, he was happy.
Yeah.
So I thought, all right, it can't be that bad if he's able to afford a place in Manhattan. So I said, I never considered becoming a teacher. And the main reason why I considered never becoming a teacher was because I saw how my teachers were. I saw how they dressed. I saw what cars they drove. And I said, I need to make real money. I can't become a teacher. But most of my young life, I was working with students. Like in high school, I volunteered, I tutored kids. I mean, I enjoyed working with, our youth. So I said, hey, why not just do that? Sure, I'll take a pay cut. But I've always been a person that was able to hustle when I was younger, whether it be flipping sneakers, basketball, trading cards, or selling things on eBay. I always found a way to make a quick buck. So I said, I'll make it up by hustling more on the side. But I wanted to do something where I'd have a platform to really make a difference. In my corporate job, I felt that I was just another number, just putting in my timesheets, just getting a paycheck, and all right, what do I do with that money? But being a teacher, I still remember my fourth grade teacher, Mr. Bluthal, and he was a person that got me over the hump in terms of my ELA reading skills. And I'll never forget that name, right? And it's just one of those things where there's certain people in your life growing up in education that you'll never forget. So I wanted to be that person for my future students.
That's a wonderful story. So I'm a former teacher, and I always am like, well, nobody goes into teaching for the money, right? So how did your buddy go into teaching and afford a place in Manhattan? I feel like, is there a piece missing there?
I didn't ask the full story. He probably got some help with the down payment. That's my guess.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't a lavish place. Maybe it was a studio. I didn't really ask.
Okay.
But I was like,
you didn't dig into the details.
yeah, I didn't really dig. I kind of was looking for a way out.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. The biggest piece was he was happy.
Right.
And I just wanted to be happy. Like I'm 20, 23, 24 years old. Like I want to be happy.
Yeah. All right. So then take us through. You had that conversation. You're like, I'm ready to be happy.
You said this, sorry, before you go in,
Oh.
you said this around 2007, 2008? Because also
Mhm.
that's, for those people that are out there that are old enough to remember
The
the,
crash.
yeah, the big crash that had happened. And ironically, I was living in New York at that time, having the hardest time trying to find a job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't look at teaching though.
I didn't get a raise in 2008. I got promoted, but I didn't get a raise. I got a bonus for the promotion. So, I mean, I left my job making 60,000. It wasn't like I was making multiple six figures, right? And then teaching at the time, we would start somewhere in the 40s or 50s with your master's. So I took a cut. Obviously, I didn't work really for 2 years to get my master's in education. But to me, I was like, this is a small price to pay for something that makes me truly happy, or I think will make me truly happy.
So then you applied to be a teacher and got into teaching, and now you teach finance at the middle school level. Is that right?
Correct. So we go back. So I got hired full time in 2012. So
Okay.
between 2010 and 2012, I was subbing, going to school. When I got hired, I was teaching regular core math. So sixth and seventh grade, teaching them things for the state math test. A couple years later, I realized that in New York City, there's something called specialized high schools, like some of the top high schools in the country. And I realized that my students weren't getting in there, even our top students. And basically, you take a test. If you score high enough, you get into the school. It doesn't matter your grades, doesn't matter your behavior. You just got to score well on the test. So I realized that our best students were not getting in. So I told my principal I wanted to start a math talent. So in our school,
Hmm.
kids choose a talent, whether it be dance, vocal, art, technology, or science. And I said, I want to start an advanced math class so I can teach these kids and be 2 years ahead of schedule. Because our eighth graders are taking a test where you need to know ninth and 10th grade level math. So how can we expect them to have the tools to get there if we're not preparing them? So I want to teach seventh and eighth grade level math in sixth grade, teach them eighth and ninth and seventh grade, and so on to give them the best opportunity. So that's how math talent started. And then a couple years later, she came to me, hey, there's this program called Virtual Enterprise, and they teach kids how to start their own business. I want you to teach it because you have a corporate background. And naturally, I said, no, I don't really want to do that. I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing. I don't want to change anything because it's more work.
Yeah, of
But
course.
it turns out to be one of the best decision in my career because I got a curriculum for seventh and eighth grade, and my sixth grade curriculum I created myself. But if I'm teaching kids how to build a business, there needs to be skills like financial literacy. They need to learn, how to save money, how to borrow money, things like that. So I basically just turned my curriculum into a 3-year program where the kids learn the stock market game. They learn about how to invest in stocks. They learn about budgeting, saving. They learn how to do resumes, do graphic design to build a business. And in those 3 years, the hope is that by the end, they'll be able to understand financial literacy. They're able to understand why you should invest, how to invest, and also learn the skills to build a business. And most importantly, to take that home, bring it back to the parents, because the majority of the students in my school are first generation Americans or immigrants themselves that weren't born here. I feel like the majority of people in general, but most people that come to the country, they save their money and that's all they
Hmm.
do.
Yeah.
So I tell them, if you're saving your money, you're probably losing money. Even if you put it in a piggy bank, you're losing money because of inflation. So to teach them that to really build wealth, you want to be able to learn to invest.
My gosh. You just said so many amazing things. I just want to pause and appreciate the fact that you're doing this at the middle school level because, I mean, it's widely known that financial literacy is not taught, especially not in public school systems, even in the private school system. And then maybe in college, you can take a finance class or an economics class, but it's not personal finance. It's
No.
not budgeting, saving, credit scores, investing, how to read, information about the stock market. So that is amazing. And then the fact that you're taking it the step further and, making sure that the parents are getting involved too, because we've had a lot of first gen guests on the podcast. And what you said is the total sentiment, like, hey, it was save our money, don't spend it, don't spend money you don't have, and that's kind of where the buck stops. Pun intended, you know?
I can say the one positive that you see a variance in between, like, first generation immigrants as compared to, several generations of families who've been here in the US is that immigrant families save more than, the traditional several generation American family. And, that's the biggest hurdle that most people have is that they don't have the ability to save. They haven't gotten that habit in place. So once you have that habit in place, it is such an easier transition to say, hey, now that you already have that money saved, this is now what you need to do in order to grow it properly.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. The one caveat is that because they're always saving, I think it's because of a scarcity mindset.
Yes.
Because there isn't enough, because they came here with nothing and whatever they have to keep. So it's a real struggle to convince people to move from a scarcity to an abundance mindset, especially people that come from basically nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the real struggle to shift, especially with families.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, do you feel like you being first generation helps you tell that story and helps you maybe break down some of those barriers? Because, I mean, I think if we had that same conversation with somebody who maybe doesn't look like them, or you can tell, like, hey, you've had privilege your whole life, it's harder to then relate and hear somebody say, here's what we need to do. Here's why. This is how we do it. You know, you can kind of put yourself in their shoes. Do you feel like that helps you in teaching this material?
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about being able to relate to you, right? That's why it's so important, the art of storytelling, to share the transparency of where you came from, what you went through, and what you have. I mean, I'm coming from one of the lowest paying jobs as an educator, right? We don't make anywhere near enough, based on what we do. But, if I'm saying if I can become financially free, if I could build wealth, if I could build assets as a teacher, you know, you're making a lot more than me. Technically, you should be able to do it. And for a while, I was like, oh, well, Ray, you don't have kids. Okay, now I have kid. I have one kid.
Yeah.
I'm a parent. My wife is not working because we have that option. So I thought that would be a lot easier to relate. But what it comes down to is, regardless, there's always, reasons for people not to change what they do. And for a long time, I took it to heart. If I couldn't personally shift someone in their mindset or shift someone, make them believe that something is possible. And, even as a teacher, honestly, I focus on the people that actually put in the effort. There are always kids that don't do the work and honestly don't really pay them much mind, because if they're not putting energy in, like, why would I reciprocate? My administration may not love me saying that, but
We
I'm
won't
being
send them
very
the clip.
honest.
It's fine.
I'm being very honest.
Yeah.
If some kid is, I have so many former students that come back and say, hey, Mr. Tran, I'm ready to learn. Teach me. So what I do is I give them a book, usually Rich Dad Poor Dad. I say, finish this book in a week and then we'll talk. And if you finish a book in a week, we'll have a conversation. I'll be able to tell during that conversation whether you actually read it. And then I'll take them under my wing and I'll mentor them. But if they don't,
Yeah, you have to put
they're
in the
not
work.
serious. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to put in the work.
And the thing is, you have limited time.
Yeah.
You have limited time in a given day, so you want to allocate that time towards people that are really interested and are going to do the work behind there. And unfortunately, it's not going to be everybody.
Yeah. Now, is this a voluntary class or course or 3-year program, or does everybody go through it?
Everyone chooses a talent.
The talent. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So the
okay.
talent that I teach is under math talent,
Okay.
technically.
I mean, I would have stayed as far away from that as possible
100%, yeah.
as a middle schooler. Looking back, that would have been incredible, but that's never something that I would have chosen. Do you have to do, I don't know, are you doing some fun, cool advertising? How do you get them besides the Asian kids whose parents are going to be like, yes, go through the math talent track. How are you getting people into this track?
In 6th grade, at the beginning of the school year, all the talent teachers go to the auditorium and we pitch.
Ooh,
Right.
fun.
We pitch.
Yeah.
So I say, if you like money, raise your hand.
Yep.
If you want to learn how to make money, raise your hand. And all the teachers raise their hand too. So, well, if you want to learn how to make money, you want to learn how to invest your money, follow my class. But
Oh,
the
I
thing
love
is, there's a good amount of students that join me because it's math talent, because they love
Mhm.
math. Because there's a lot of kids that love math.
Yeah.
And, we don't, obviously there's math in everything that we do, but I'm not doing straight math skills. So I think there are certain students that get disappointed. And to be
Mm.
very honest, in 6th grade, I'm really, really strict because I know I'm going to have them for 3 years.
Yeah.
If they want me to hold their hand, I'm not going to do that. I tell them straight up, I'm gonna tell you one time, I'm gonna give you instructions, and if you ask me again, I'm gonna say to Google it, to read it, or YouTube it. Or ask your friends.
Yeah.
That's literally what I say. Because
Oh my
by
gosh.
8th grade, they're running their own company. They're
Yeah.
doing, payroll. They're creating websites. They're doing business pitch competitions. They're doing trade shows. Like they're doing
Oh my
amazing
gosh.
things. So if I'm holding their hand throughout 3 years, they're never gonna get to that point. So
Yeah, I love that approach. I taught 6th grade, and they are like little
babies,
babies. Oh my God,
babies.
they come over from elementary school, and they are babies. So you saying that, I'm just like, oh, be sweet to the babies. But I totally get it because you got to kind of whip them into shape, so that they can really learn and grasp the concepts and the accountability that it takes to potentially run a business. So I love that.
My mom's a retired college math professor, so math was the norm in our household.
Yeah,
Would you have joined Math Town, or would you want to stay away from it?
he would have stayed away.
No, I wouldn't have. I probably would have.
If you would have, okay, after the pitch of you saying
No,
who wants
also,
money.
you got to remember. Basically, what he's describing is what I was. I was 2 years ahead in math
Yeah, but not because you chose a talent track.
because I was good at it.
Well,
Yeah. Same with me. I was in Math Town when I was in middle school at a different school. I mean, math is always natural for me until calculus. Then it got a little wonky.
oh my
See,
God.
the thing I liked about math is that it's a
can't.
definitive answer. When it comes to writing a paper, that's up to interpretation from the teacher.
Yeah, Brandon is great at math. He's not great at writing. Yeah. I would love to pivot into, what you already stated, which we unfortunately know is the standard in the US, which is teachers are vastly underpaid for the work that you do. Um, how do you go from, 40 grand a year, 50 grand a year as a teacher in New York, which is an expensive place to live, first off, to, oh, I own 580 plus units in real estate. I mean, that's the epitome of like, you don't have to make a lot to own assets. So I would love to go into that conversation because I think that's a common misconception that people use as an excuse. Oh, I don't make a lot, so I can't do this. So would love to hear your journey there.
So I realized that I need to make up my salary. So I did. As teachers, we get out at 2:10 p.m. 4 days a week and at 3:50 on Mondays. We work 180 days in a year. We have summers off. So I worked 7 days a week to start. I coached basketball. I did private tutoring. I drove house to house to tutor people and state exams, SATs, ACTs, all that. Like I was grinding 7 days a week, driving from house to house before COVID. So what I realized was that was active income, where if I don't work, I'm not going to get paid. So I need to learn how to put money into passive income streams. When my dad passed away, I realized that he never got to retirement age. And no matter how much he worked, he still had to keep on working. So I decided that I have to have a different path. So I went down a rabbit hole. Books, podcasts, spoke to everyone I knew that was wealthy, that made money. And 2 asset classes that stood out was the stock market and real estate. So I was like, I'm going to go invest in that. So I started off with the stock market and I put my money in stocks. I maxed out my Roth IRA. I maxed out my 403B, my pre-tax accounts, put money in my taxable brokerage account. And then I purchased my first property in 2014. I purchased a 2-bedroom apartment. My dad passed away, so my parents helped me with some of the down payment. And, when I was living there, I was just working a lot. And then I later got married. We bought a condo in 2021. I rented out my first property. That's my first time being a landlord. And I kind of, for lack of a better word, cheated because I just had one of my best friends living there and I didn't have to really worry about anything. I said, hey, listen, I'm giving you on the market price for rent. This will literally make me break even. I'm not making $1 off of you. Just keep the place good. And don't call me with any issues. Just deal with it yourself. So that's what happened. And then in 2022, I purchased my first out-of-state property. Bought a 3-bed, 1-bath house in Ohio for $106,000. And that opened my eyes. The fact that you could buy a house for $100,000, I was like, whoa. So for that, I'd use a turnkey company. A turnkey company is a company that buys it, renovates it, puts a tenant in place, gets a property manager to manage it, and you take it over. So it felt very easy. So that's what I did. And I like to say, if I knew what I know now, I would never have bought it. But if I never bought it, I wouldn't be where I am today. And the reason I say that is because they had a spreadsheet that put in a lot of things that says that I'm going to make a couple $100 a month. But there are 3 things they didn't take into consideration: vacancy, capital expenditures, and maintenance. When they move out, there's a time period where 1, I have to fix up the place, and 2, they have to get a tenant in place. Every month that someone is not in there paying me rent, I have to pay for it. So that's vacancy. You have to account for that. Maintenance and CapEx, the roof, the boiler, the appliances, all that stuff, it comes out of my pocket. So now I know to bake in about 15 to 20% into my expenses for those categories. And if I put that in there, I would have realized that it was not going to be a property that would make me money. It would be cash flow negative. But I don't regret it because if I never did it, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have taken that first step.
So, living in New York, what made you decide to purchase a property in Ohio?
Had you ever been to Ohio?
Never. Still have not. Still have not.
I just knew you were going to say that, which is why I wanted to ask that question.
Yeah. I mean, I just saw that things in the Midwest were so much cheaper and more affordable. Right. So I was all right, let me start there. And so I bought that. And then once I bought that, I was ready to go all in. I was going through a divorce and I had to sell my condo anyways. I was like, I'm going to sell both my properties and go all in out of state. And in terms of real estate, there's 3 different types of things you need. There's time, knowledge, and money. I had the time, I had the capital, but I didn't have the knowledge. So I went and sought a coaching mentoring program, a community. So in December 2022, I joined Zen Coach University, which was a community that offers mentoring, coaching, online curriculum, all that. And in 2023, I purchased 4 properties in Philadelphia, PA, using the BRRRR method, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. And the beautiful thing about that is that you get to recycle your money and use it for more and more properties. But to share actual numbers, I bought a 4-bed, 1-bath house for $108,000. I put $80,000 in renovation. So I'm all in for $188,000. It got appraised for $288,000. So I gained $100,000 in equity from that deal. I did a cash out refinance for 70% of that, which is about $201,000. I took that $201,000, paid myself back for the investment that I put in, still had money in my pocket, and I had a property that was renting for $2,100. So I took that same money and did it 3 more times. And that's how I kind of jump-started things.
So, I want to break down, kind of what you did the first time. Like, was this you doing all this yourself? As far as, or you're the one that's finding the contractors and everything like that to do the renovations. Can you kind of break that down?
Absolutely. So first, I am probably the least handiest person ever.
I'm not handy either, so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess to add on to one of the questions before, why I bought out of state, I realized that if I owned a property next door to me and something was wrong, I would call someone to fix it. So it doesn't matter if I live next door or thousands of miles away. It's going to be the same process. I'm going to call someone to fix it. So I don't need to see it.
That's
I
a
probably
good
won't even know what to
insight.
do if I see it, right?
Yeah.
So how I got the deal. I did something called PML, private money lending. I was a private money lender. A little before then, I met someone that was like, hey, give me X amount of money, I'll give you return, and then, I'll pay you out. So we did that a couple of times. And when I met him in person, I said, hey, if you're paying me 20%, you're obviously making more. So I want to do what you're doing. So he said, I'll send you deals. I said, sure. And when he sent me the deals, I realized that I didn't know how to analyze a deal, which is why I joined Zen Coaching University for coaching. He was someone that actually, his father was a contractor. He would source the deal. He would take care of the renovation. And he even offered to manage the property for me. So for me, it was quick and easy. Plus, Philly's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. I could drive there if I wanted to. And for the first property, I did go and visit it 3 times, but I have not visited the other properties since. And even if I go to Philly, I won't see the properties.
You're just
It
like, it
won't do
doesn't
anything for me.
matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. I mean, I have a property manager that tells you what's going on. They collect payments. I see the distributions. I have a portal set up for everything. So the construction itself, it was relatively hands off. I mean, I was part of the process in picking what to do. I felt the need to go check on it to see how I was doing. And no, I think what many people don't think about is if you can build a team, I mean, in any business, right? If you could build a team and systems in place to take care of things, you can be pretty passive, right? Obviously, you can just check, do daily updates. You could check and you could see for yourself, sure. But if you can put a team in place to run your business, to run your properties for you, it's a lot better experience instead of doing everything yourself.
I do want to call out though, because you're sharing all the details like, hey, I didn't realize this, I didn't know this, I enrolled in a course, I needed to learn, I didn't know how to analyze the spreadsheet. That's not passive, right? Like what is happening now is passive, but you did a lot of work with intentionality and a plan behind it to get to where you are now, which is the passive part. And even then, walk us through what happens when there is damage, when the roof does need to be replaced, when you maybe have a tenant who wasn't vetted properly. I don't know if that's happened, but and they trash it. I mean, I watch a lot of HGTV. You see this you see this stuff all the time. It's like you really have to be emotionally detached from your rental properties because you don't live there and you need to look at them as a business. But would love to know, like, when does it not become passive for you anymore?
So one, I believe it never becomes completely passive.
Okay.
Never. There are levels of passive.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, I dealt with some tenants, evicted that tenant, the first tenant I put into the property that I just shared with you. Went through eviction, went through court. I won the court case. They were ruled to pay me by the end of 2024, and I've still not seen a dime. Right? So I am in the process of hiring someone to collect. Now, if that'll happen, I don't know. But I think the main thing is in personal finance, we say to have 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency fund. I believe you need 3 to 6 months of expenses in each property,
Yeah. Smart.
right? So if you can't cover the next 2 months of rent, you're in trouble. So you need to make sure you have reserves for each property because each property has individual circumstances, right? So for me, I was able to float it because I have reserves, right? And another thing I leverage my securities backed line of credit, called an SB lock. So many people will know what a HELOC is, a home equity line of credit. An SB lock, instead of leveraging a property like a HELOC, it leverages your taxable brokerage account. Schwab, I have my SB lock with Schwab. They call it a pledge asset line. They give me 70% line of credit of my brokerage account. So I use that if I need extra funding to cover it. I mean, I pay monthly interest only payments, but it gives me a lot more purchasing power and a lot more flexibility in terms of funding if and when I need it.
Is this something you learned how to do in the course that you enrolled in?
And
Okay.
every single time I bring it, I would say 95% of people have never heard of an SB lock. I think many people have a brokerage account. So just to clarify, you can't leverage a retirement account. You cannot leverage a Roth IRA. It has to be a taxable brokerage account. And if you have at least $100,000, you can open one up with Schwab. You can open one with Fidelity with $500,000. That gives you so much more access because in real estate, or even building businesses, you want to be able to leverage everything you have, right? You run out of money eventually in your bank account, right? Unless you just keep making insane amount of cash flow. But if you run out of money, you need to be a little more creative about getting funding. Whether that is getting, raising money, private money from people for deals, things like that, which I've done as well. But one of the things I love to do is look at everyone's financial, like all the financials, say, okay, can you leverage that? Can you leverage that? Can you leverage a retirement account through a self-directed IRA from a previous employer? There's so many things that people don't think of that there's so much good debt that you can leverage out there. And it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So, like, I understand that, within middle school teaching, you're teaching, the basics that you had spoke about previously. But as far as the more advanced stuff that you're speaking about now, do you teach this to people as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I am a wealth real estate coach. I have my own personal brand, RT Invest, that I coach clients in. I'm also a real estate coach for Zen Coach University, which is the community I joined as a student. And after a year, they asked if I want to become a coach. And obviously made a lot of sense because there's a lot of synergy. So I do work with adults of all different ages to help them learn about real estate investing to create that passive income. But what I've realized is that, sure, we're teaching real estate, but there's so much more that entails, whether it be your personal finance, your mindset, right? Just the mindset is the most important thing, no matter what your age, no matter what services you're looking for, whether, if you want a personal training for working out, like if you need that mindset to be able to, go through and get those results. So for me, I just feel like I just cover a lot of things with each individual person. And I truly, truly enjoy it because seeing the transformation of people, seeing them held accountable and to see the results is it's priceless.
Yeah, because I know, like, for me, like, so for like me personally, I'm the type of person where like I can find myself waiting too long for certain things because I want things to quote unquote be perfect. And I just need to sometimes take that first step. And I know that's this that could be said for a lot of people out there. And having someone like yourself work with them helps them at least take that first step. And as you said before, even with your first step, there was errors made, but that first step is what has gotten to you where you're at today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe in mistakes. I believe
True.
that every mistake is a learning
Learning
opportunity,
opportunity.
right? And I
Very
mean,
true.
obviously we can be the victim and say, "Oh, I messed up. What do I do now?" But let's be accountable. Let's take that. All right, what did I do wrong? How can I prevent myself from making that same mistake? And how can I prevent others from making that mistake as well?
How do you go from one property in Ohio, a couple in Philly, to 580 plus units? And how long did that take?
Partnerships. So, you can, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? And being able to meet other people that are really doing really dope things really opens opportunities, opens your network, opens your eyes. And what I realized was when I purchased 4 properties in Philly and I renovated, it was a lot of work. And sure, I keep doing this, but I would like to scale my portfolio. I like to get into bigger projects, right? So one of the first projects I got into was a 355 unit apartment complex in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Hmm.
And in that property, we purchased for 32 million. And, we have partners that put in a bulk of that, but we also raise about 10, $11 million from other passive investors, right? That want to be in the deal. And for me, that was the first time where I got a ROI on my social media. So I posted content, was it summer 2023? It's because I had so many parents that said, "Hey, Mr. Tran, I would love to be in your class. Can I come sit in your class?" So I was like, why am I limiting what I teach in the classroom? Just put it out there, see what happens. And when I publicized that deal, people were like, "Hey, Ray, I love what you're doing. I see your posts on Facebook, Instagram. Tell me about the deal." I was able to raise 500,000, like personally from that deal. And the thing I enjoyed the most is being able to give this opportunity to other people that normally wouldn't have it. Most people, most working professionals are working to pay their bills, they have kids, they take a nice vacation, but they don't have the time or they don't want to use the time to go into real estate. So I said, well, here's our projections, here's our numbers, here's our team, this is everything we're doing. We send out monthly email updates of all the financials, everything that's going on. And, the biggest piece, if you invest in me, I will teach you. I will walk you through this. I'll give you education, right? Most people don't take it because they're like, Ray, just tell me when I'm getting paid. But, I give that education. So what I love about the bigger deals is I can get my friends and family in there, so that we can all grow together.
I love that part you said this at the end because we have a lot of conversations about personal finance and how to grow wealth with our friend circle. And the ultimate goal is that so that we all, at the end of the day, can enjoy the lives that we want to enjoy. And when we all become work optional, and it's like, oh, I'll pay for this vacation, you pay for that vacation, and just spend time together.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. What happens? Let's talk about the Murfreesboro apartment complex. How many people are in on a $32 million building? And is there a minimum to get in? And then what is what's the lowest amount that somebody is making, right, every month off of a deal like that? I don't know if any of
So,
those questions make sense.
got it.
Okay.
So we have it's called a syndication. Syndication is when a pool of investors put money together to buy something. So in a syndication, there are general partners, GPs, and there are limited partners, LPs. General partners are people that run the deal, operate the deal, find the deal, all that. And limited partners are passive investors that put in money, have no say. So we have 4 main groups in the general partner side, and other limited investors, I would say 50-ish people that invested. The minimum investment for that project was $50,000. So $50,000 minimum investment. You get quarterly payouts, and we're hitting about 8% cash on cash return. And then at the end of 5 years, we're projecting to more than double your money, right? So I guess a lot of different deals out there, people kind of, okay, give me your money. At the end, you'll get your return. But I think people like the fact that they're getting quarterly payouts. They like the fact that they're getting monthly email updates and a nice PDF report that shows everything transparent. And they like the fact that they can access me to ask me what's going on. The beautiful thing about commercial real estate, which multifamily deals, is that the worth of your property is not solely based on the comps in your area. So people that buy single family houses, basically it's whatever's selling in your neighborhood that's like comparable to your property. That's how they figure out what it's worth. In commercial real estate, it's about the NOI, the net operating income. How much income you have minus the expenses. So we go into these projects looking to raise the income that we're bringing in, whether it's by turning units, people that the lease are ending, we're raising the rents. If they're willing to pay the raised rent, that's market rent. Sure. If they're not, they leave. We renovate the property, raise the value, rent it for more, and that increases your bottom line, the more money you're bringing in. In addition, there are other things you could do. You could increase the parking spots or add a pickleball court, things like that. That will raise the value of the property. Now, the more money you're bringing in, the more your property will be worth, which is why I feel like there's so much more power in and control in the multifamily space as opposed to just a house that, if your neighbor sold it for a low price, like, oh, that's not looking too good. If your neighbor selling it for a high price, okay, that's good. But you can't control that.
Yeah. We have a bunch of houses in the neighborhood for sale, and they keep dropping the price. And we keep looking like, oh, we knew that we weren't ready to sell yet anyways, but exactly what you just described, right? Like, it's not good that our neighbors are dropping their rates and can't sell their house because that means we're not going to be able to sell ours for what we would want to. So that makes a lot of sense.
So for any listener out there who's listening to this and they've heard everything that all the knowledge that you've put out there, if they were looking to get started, what are maybe some of like the, maybe 1 or 2 things that you would say, this is what you need to be looking at, this is what you need to be doing if you're going to get started into real estate investing?
So they have to look at the 3 things: capital, knowledge, and time. What do you have or what don't you have, and how you can fill that gap. So most people should probably have some capital, right, to start with. If they have capital, do you have the time? If you don't have the time, are you willing to make the time, be more active? If you're not willing to be more active, you want to be passive, you look for people that you trust, that you learn to trust, that you grow up, build a relationship with, to invest with. Now, if you have the time and you have the capital, you want the knowledge, you look for someone or some people that have done it already. Right? I truly believe in investing in yourself, whether it be investing in a personal trainer, a life coach, a real estate coach. I mean, why not learn from people that are doing or have done what you want to do? And to me, that's an investment in yourself, right? So we'll buy whatever for our kids, we'll, do whatever. But then when it's time to pay for coaching, pay for mentorship, so nah, I don't want to do that. I could go on YouTube, I go on Instagram, get it for free. But how long have you been doing that for free? And where has it
Hmm.
gotten you?
And
So
deciphering the noise and what's
yeah,
real and what's not and what applies and
absolutely.
what doesn't. We talk about that all the time because
Yeah.
that time ROI, figuring out yourself when people are clearly doing it well and are teaching, that is an investment, like you said.
It's also being real with yourself and who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Like you just said, like, if it's all free and out there, why haven't you done it already then?
Yeah.
There's probably a reason for that.
Yeah. So Ray, you have all these units, but you're still teaching middle school in Brooklyn. What's that about?
I love what I do.
Okay.
That's the best.
Yeah, that's
That's the best teacher
amazing.
to have. The teacher
Yeah,
that's doing it for the love of doing it.
absolutely.
The kids always come to me, oh, you're a millionaire. I was like, well, my net worth is in the millions. I don't have that in my bank, but
Yeah.
it just comes down to I really enjoy what I do. I had a lot of discussions that, I can go full time to real estate, go full time into financial consulting or anything like that, and I can make more money. Sure. But I actually have a very flexible job. Because I assign projects to students, I do have a lot more free time. And I feel like I'm so much more efficient when I'm working. So this past summer, I didn't work and I wake up at whatever time and I'm always in the house. There's always something to do with the baby, for my wife, anything like that. And when I'm at work, like I'm at work, right? So I'm so much more efficient there. And two, I have a lot of flexibility still. Like I work 180 days in a year, less than half the year I'm working. So I can do whatever I have to do outside of it. I run my real estate. I do coaching. I organize and run and go to networking events. Like these are all things that I'm still able to do. That's why I stay in teaching. I mean, my wife is not working. She doesn't want to work. And I said, you don't have to work. If you want to work, you can. And that's because of certain assets and investments that I've made in the past that allows us that financial freedom. And everyone always talks about that freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah, that's amazing. Ray, where can people find you? I'm sure this is going to spark a lot of like, oh my gosh, okay, this is what I needed to get started, or at least, have a reference point. Where can people find you? Where can they, sign up for coaching? Let us know all the details.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am all the social media platforms on the rt.invest, plural. I have a website, rtinvest.com. And, you can shoot me an email, ray@rtinvest.com. I mean, I give free consultations for anyone that's looking for help to see if we're the right fit, right? I mean, it's possible that we may meet and it's just not the right fit, right? But I give a consultation, meet them, and see what I can do for them and what if they have that mindset to be willing to shift it. Other than that, I post content about all these topics that we talk about, and it's just something that I've realized that there isn't enough in the world, right? There isn't enough knowledge out there. Now, whether people want to take that knowledge, that's another conversation, but there just isn't enough good information out there for people. And I just feel that I want to be able to make an impact on people's lives. And in order to do that, I have to be transparent and be out there. So I really appreciate this opportunity to be on your show. And yeah, just very grateful.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. This has been a wonderful and informative conversation. I know I can already see Brandon's wheel. I know my
She
husband.
knows
He's
me.
his wheels are already turning because real estate has been very much top of mind for him. So,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. This part that we obviously started the podcast to help, people have more regular conversations about their money. But also selfishly, I like talking to people like yourself that know, so much more than I do in a specific area, and I get to learn some knowledge and
Yeah,
have some people that I could talk to, possibly work with to help up, our game.
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah. And he's a middle school teacher. Of course we can trust him. I mean,
Of course.
yeah.
It's just money, right?
It's just money. Yeah. Ray, this has been awesome. We'll make sure to link all of your socials and your website in the show notes for anybody to reach out, connect, get that free consult. Thank you for being with us today and for dropping all those gems.
Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets